Gamesense, the most magical aspect of CS, is something that blows your mind on almost the same level as the highest level of mechanics we see in this game. And I decided to do a video about it, as it makes a good sequel to the positioning video I made last time, as they are both really abstract of skills to train. So I will try to dissect what Gamesense is, so that you can understand it better and hopefully get better at it. So, the reason why Gamesense is such a magical skill is because when someone has a really high level Gamesense, it almost looks like they have a wall hack, because they can read the game without having any recent info or without seeing an enemy. A good example would be when someone kills somebody through a wall or a smoke. But Gamesense has an impact on a much smaller and less exciting scale. And it is, in my opinion, the second most important skill after mechanics. And this is because you use it in every other skill. Deciding if this is a good position or not for a certain situation? Gamesense. Should you push, retreat or hold this position? Gamesense. Is it a good idea to use this piece of utility now? Gamesense. And so on and so forth. A nice thing about Gamesense is that if you improve in it, you will improve all the other skills because you have a deeper understanding of the game, and vice versa. An example would be that when you deepen your understanding of the game, it will become easier for you to see if it's a good idea to use a certain piece of utility in a certain situation. On the other hand, if you have a good understanding of the utility and your enemy uses some nade, you might be able to exploit it because you can see that what he just did was a mistake. So you can basically say that Gamesense and every other skill in this game are connected, even mechanics. Like when you decide if you hold your crosshair close or far from the angle, depending on whether the enemy will pick close or if he runs out. And of course you have those moments where players can tell where the enemies are without seeing or even hearing them. Like when they kill someone through smoke, walls, or meanwhile they are flashed. Or when they position themselves or cut the enemy's course so that it's favorable for them. And so I will divide Gamesense in 3 categories. The first one is general understanding of the game, like timings, what and when you should buy, positioning, when to be aggressive and when to be defensive, what nade and when you should use it, etc. etc. The second would be the reading of the game, like reading rotations, when to rotate, most likely position that the enemies find themselves in, number of people on the side, and every other aspect where you read what is happening to piece the puzzle together. And I would divide this category into 2 subcategories. First one being info-based reads, where you read the game based on information that you acquired. And the second one being experience-based reads, where you don't have any info or where your info is outdated, so you use your past experiences to determine what the enemy is doing. And finally, the decision making, after you get grasp on what is happening to put it all into one circle. And I think it's important to make these distinctions because maybe you have a good game sense in the first 2 categories, but you lack in the last one, either making bad decisions or taking too long to make a decision. Or maybe you are good at reading the game and making decisions, but you lack in the general understanding of the game, like your personal positioning or utility usage. And seeing that Gamesense has an actual structure to it might make it easier for you to improve in it. So now, how do we improve it? And I would say you don't really improve Gamesense, you accumulate it. As I don't see Gamesense as much of a skill as it is a knowledge. In this case, it is a skill when you are reading the game based on info and when you are making the decisions. But it is a knowledge when we are talking about the general understanding of the game and when you are reading the game based on your experience. So it's an aspect of the game that has 2 sides to it. So to improve your game sense, you need to accumulate the knowledge and experience and study the game to give the form to what you have learned. Now, knowing this, you can improve your game sense by first playing the game so that you experience it firsthand. And that's because to gain experience, you of course need to go through it yourself. Second, by studying it by either watching the videos or pro games/live streams. I recommend doing both of these. And last but not least, watching your demos. And this one is especially important, because not only are you going through the same situation 2 times, which is how people become good at reading the game. They can read their opponent because they found themselves in similar situation many times in the past. so they already know what the enemy might be thinking or doing. And after you play for a while, these reads will become subconscious to you. Like a feeling inside, something along the lines of, I have a hunch he's on CT. But you also are studying the game. But it's more custom sized, as you are dissecting your gameplay, so you aren't borrowing tricks from other people, but you are correcting your own mistakes, which will make you a much better player. Because if there are two equal opponents, the one to make less mistakes is the one that will win. And one last tip that I will leave you with is to be actively thinking about what you are doing. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people, a lot of players, aren't actually thinking about when they are playing. They are only playing on autopilot, like reacting. People are pushing, okay, I will try to stop them with nades. People are throwing nades, okay, I will be defending this deeper position for a little bit before pushing, and stuff like that. But you want to be actually thinking about what happened, what are the consequences of what happened, what you need to do, and what is happening right now, and what you should do. You want to be thinking all the time in the round. You don't want to be playing on autopilot, because that will just worsen your situation. And a lot of times, people don't actually have a bad game sense, they just don't think when they play. So try it out. Maybe that's the only problem. Okay, so this is it for the video. Let me know in the comments if there is something you would like me to do a video about. If you liked the video and it was helpful, leave a like. See ya!